This is a story of women and men, mothers and daughters, sisters and wives affected by breast cancer. They convey powerful messages about the strength of families and communities, the power of education, and the importance of sharing these stories with family members, friends, and community. This is the journey of women who have gained great insight and found sources of courage that they never imagined. One woman speaks of her husband's experience with breast cancer, a rare but not to be misunderstood circumstance. You will also hear from a surgeon who has cared for thousands of women with breast cancer, as well as a genetic counselor. Together, these stories are a rich mosaic of wisdom, which we hope in the next few minutes will provide you with greater understanding of the facts about breast cancer. No one truly imagines the impact of the words, "You have breast cancer."
The day that I was diagnosed with cancer, I just busted out. I just started crying. I couldn't think of anything else because I thought that cancer didn't happen to me, that it happened to others, but not to me. But when I found out I had cancer, that was one of the biggest shocks in my life.
Well, my response to my sister being diagnosed, it made me more aware of knowing that it could be hereditary. It made me more conscious of my health and what I need to do, as a female in the area of breast exams. Maybe I need to step up a little bit more and be more proactive.
My husband was very devastated because, as an African, it's not something that we hear a lot. Breast cancer is not something we talk about a lot in Africa. So it was a big shock to him. And my children, of course, didn't understand. But, with the help of a few friends and doctors who told me, or rather lectured me on how to make my kids understand breast cancer, it was a lot easier, but it was very devastating at first.
I was really, really frightened. I think we were talking about it, I was 15 at the time. She and I always had a really great relationship, and we were always good friends and, always spoke about everything. So, and I grew up with her basically alone, and so just, it was our world, so everything was about us. And like she said, she got the phone call. I don't know why I picked up the phone when she, answered the phone too. And it was her doctor. I heard the whole conversation. I heard him saying that, they did find, cancer. And it's kind of a feeling it's hard to explain. It's just like, I just burst into tears,
Yes, the earlier we find breast cancer, the more we can do.
Don't be afraid to go have a mammogram, to do breast exams. I talk to a lot of my friends now and ask them if they do the breast exam, and they say, oh no. Ask them if they have the mammogram, they say, oh no. And I believe that a lot of that comes from the fear of maybe finding out you do have breast cancer or finding that lump there, and not realizing that if you find it early, you might end up with a breast cancer diagnosis. But if it's there and you find it late, then your chances of survival go down. And not doing it, not having the mammogram, and not doing the breast exams won't make that mass not be there.
With my sister, she waited, a long time, and so it got, it was like in the later stages. So I think that early detection now, because they have a lot of insurances out there, a lot of free clinics out there that you can go to. So there's really no excuses why you could say, I just don't want to have it because I don't have insurance. But now, seeing that they're doing a lot of studies on breast cancer in the African American, population. They're making it more easier with the Well Women's program, and and just different organization. They see the seriousness of it. Don't put it off.
So what do we know about our families?
Currently, if you're young and diagnosed with breast cancer, it becomes very important in terms of knowing your family history. Even if there is no family history, and you're young, you're diagnosed with breast cancer, we recommend, and the literature supports, referral of the patient to a genetics counselor. And based on that consultation, there is a discussion about the benefits or not of genetic testing.
When I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I did have genetic testing. The oncologist spoke to me about it and asked me if I was interested in that in terms of my daughter. And that's all I had to hear was, yes, this is something that needs to be done. Because, as I said before, we did not have a history, so I wanted to know where this came from and if this was going to be a problem for my daughter. They did do the genetic testing on me, and fortunately I didn't have the mutations, So, and I wanted to give her maybe some peace of mind. And that's not to say nothing else will ever crop up, but at least she knows that that's not a factor.
My daughter, she was really scared because she wanted to know. She said, if Mama got it, she wanted to know if it was hereditary, because a lot of people say when you have a disease, it's hereditary. She was afraid she might get it too. They asked me if I had girls. They asked me if anyone in my family had was diagnosed with cancer before me, or was I the first one? Okay. And they was just saying that I should have if I had a daughter, that she should come in and have herself tested as well.
It's equally important to know your mother's family history and your father's family history. So we look at that family history and we talk about if there seems to be a pattern of cancer in the family. If it appears that there is several red flags for hereditary cancer, genetic testing itself.
But he say, don't keep secrets. Let your family know what's going on, not only so they can support you, but so that they know what their health history is too. So he was always letting his young male cousins know, get yourself checked, don't ignore this, don't ignore that. So he would say share with family so that they all know what the history is and then support one another.
Now that my mother has been diagnosed and my sister was diagnosed, and I'm going to have breast cancer, and my daughters have that same concern. So we are constantly, checking ourselves, doing the exams to make sure. And when I have my mammograms, I can remember one time in particular, I had a callback because they saw something on my film, and I had to go back to have more film taken, and I had the other film taken, and while I was in there, I was discussing with the mammographer that my mother is a breast cancer survivor, and at that point in time, their gears shifted. I had an ultrasound because they said, your mother had this was before my sister's diagnosis, your mother has breast cancer, and we've seen something, a little different on your new film as opposed to your old film. And so immediately they did the ultrasound, and they were able to determine that there was nothing there, but they took a different tact as a result.